Welcome back, everybody. So I've decided to do this video instead of a live stream because I've been having some troubles with internet in this small town. So we will probably be doing more videos because of that. They're putting new fiber lines in and it's disrupting everyone's videos and internet. So anyway, so we're going to be doing this cute little flower here, and this is going to be for the beginner. It can be for advanced too, if you want to get a little bit of a refresher or just see something a little different. Maybe you don't do yours this way. So this is an English daisy. Very, very cute. Let me brighten that up a little bit though. There. It's a perennial, and there's the tag. And it blooms pretty well all summer, from May to August. Part sun, part shade, 10 to 8 inches high, and roughly 8 inches wide. And it's a mounding. And it self-seeds, which is what I want in my garden. Alright, so I would like to do this in very loose style, and we'll be using some mixtures of paint that I have here that I normally use, and just put it up here. I think you guys can see that. Trying to keep the plant in picture here. So you're going to see it. If you want to take a picture of it, if you want to do this yourself, you can take a picture of this right now. I'm going to have to put it up so that I can see it from my angle. So the little container is about the same height as the flower leaves here, and then the stems are a little longer, and it kind of goes all over the place. So I'm gonna actually do the plant right like the pot, like this. So I'm seeing the top part of the pot. So some of the dirt and that type of thing. And then it just slightly goes down. On a bit of an angle, the pot. I'm not going to make it too long. I want a little bit of tabletop. So it kind of goes like that. Oh, you guys can't see. I'm going to have to lower the exposure a bit. There we go. And actually I bring you guys in so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, and then what I do with drawing is I draw whatever is up front of me first. So I'm seeing quite a bit of leaves that are kind of curled. Now, you don't have to, if you don't want to do the more intricate style of this leaf drawing. If you want to just draw a generic leaf, that's fine. I'm not going to draw all these leaves, but I am going to draw some. And some of these leaves I'm seeing it come out here, and then there's a little gap like that, and then I'm seeing the underside of it too. So it's just a bunch of different leaves, and they kind of all come out of a center point. So I'm just going to draw a few of these in. They're kind of thick leaves, so you can make them a little thicker. Some of them you'll see the whole thing, and some you won't. Like that. And they overlap, so you want to overlap some of them. That one actually comes down like that, and then this one comes down and around like that, and then I just see a little bit of it over here, and then it comes up. I'm going to go on to the other page because I just like that look. And then this one kind of curls around. And then we got the stem. Just making a bunch of stems and leaves, basically. And I do have some flowers coming up. So it depends how much you want to put in. You can put in as many stems and leaves as you want. I'm just going to basically put a generic shape. I'm not going to go totally with this shape here. So I don't want this video to be too long for you. It goes down like that. There's another leaf. We have just seeing the tips of some of them. They're all kind of squished in with each other. Put some stems here and there. Okay, we'll have a stem coming up here with a flower on it, and we'll have one here. Then we'll have one here, a little taller, and then we have this kind of wonky looking one. It kind of goes like this. And then we have this other one that kind of crosses over. It's almost falling. It's got a really bendy looking stem that's kind of long. So that gives me the opportunity to bring this leaf up here. And they're kind of roundish but long at the same time. So we're just going to do that. We can always erase where we've put, you know, different pieces of, had to go over lines or whatever. Let's see, I got an eraser here. So we can erase, yeah, that there. I think that looks good. And then the stem part goes like that. You don't really see a whole lot of the other side leaves or veins. Like that. That's part of the leaf there. We can put this one over here if we want. It's kind of an interesting shape. That. And then I just see the very, very underside. And it goes like that. So try to get, when you're doing drawing, try to get the ones facing you first. And then you can concentrate on the other ones. So there's a little bit of a thickness to that pot. So put that in, and I am seeing it, the top part. And then there's you see a little bit of how deep it is right in here. So the earth is it right here, but I'm not seeing the side necessarily in there. Just put a bunch more stems in here, like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now the flowers, I'll do this one here. I'm seeing there's a little bit of a back on them. And then they're in the daisy family. So this one, I'm just going to put a round circle. And then right up in here, it's off center. So there's a little bit less room here than there. So this is wider. And this is part of the center of the daisy. Actually, I could probably make that even rounder. It's a little more it's almost like this. Because you're seeing all those little, it's almost like dots you're seeing, because I'm only seeing the tops of these petals, and they're so tiny. So if I put a bunch of dots right there, and then it comes down to about here, and about here, and then it starts seeing all of those long petals, and there's tons of them. They're kind of clustered together, and they all come out from the center. And it almost looks like they've taken a pair of scissors and clipped around the edge to make it even. So I'm just going to take that line off now, as I don't need it. And that's all you need to show you how they're positioned. And then you can do the same for all the other ones. So just take in consideration of the shape. Because if you're seeing it on more of a angle, it's almost like doing eyelashes. So I'm seeing all these little dots. And this is perspective that you're seeing. So little dots. to about there. And then you just see the very, very slight amount of the center right there. And then these all come out from the center. Then you can erase the line. And there it is. And then this one here, I'm seeing the back part of it. It almost looks like an umbrella. A green umbrella with all this rough edge. Like so. They're almost like a petal, actually. They protect the flower, like that. And then all of the spikes. Will come up out of it. That one's almost open, but not fully. So it's not as flat. That. And this one here is actually a little bit rough looking because it's one that's had its day, basically. I guess I'll just take that top off. So the center is about here, and all those little petals. And then they're shorter looking because you're looking at them straight on. And there are even a little few in the center there. Okay. And this one here is just a baby, so you're seeing that little cup of green. And then this one is kind of a cup shape, and it hasn't really sprouted out much, but you are seeing a little bit more of the inside of the petal is not quite colored yet. It doesn't have its full color. So there's some actually yellowish white in there. That's just one that just hasn't come out yet. All right, so there's that. So now we're going to paint this. So I'm just going to put this up and this beside my, I'm just thinking, do I want to, no, I'm going to actually take an eraser and I'm going to remove some of the graphite because I don't want it that dark. And then we'll ink it. Now some people like to ink first, some people like to ink after they do the watercolor. There's no wrong way of doing it. It's whatever you prefer. Just don't want some of these lines to be really dark here. I just want to be able to just see it. And then we'll use the pen ink and do our there. It's just barely. So let's start off with some green. So these are really nice rich green. So I would say a little bit of Permanent Sap Green by Winsor & Newton is a perfect green for it. But there always are highlights and shadows. So I'm going to take some of this green and put it in this well here. And then we can actually take some of this and lighten with more water. So I'm going to just wet my brush, pick up a bit of it, and just go over it. You don't have to be, I'm not going to worry about the actual shapes. I'm actually going to be using a very loose way of doing these, and then we can take our ink to show any of the areas that you want to represent as your leaf, or a certain maybe you like the way the leaf is folding or something like that. I am going to leave a little bit of white in there. And we'll come back and put a little bit of maybe darker green to make those a little bit darker in some areas, but I'm not too worried about having it exact. This is just to get you guys comfortable with watercolor and ink. So while that's drying, I don't want to go into too much of the flowers or darker green, because it'll just spread, and I don't want it to spread right now. So let's do the pot. The pot's kind of a brown color. So I'm just gonna, I have this burnt umber here, and I'm just gonna paint the pot this brown. If you have a fancy pot on yours, you can do that. I'm just going to put a little marks there and here. And then down in here is very dark, so I'm going to take some of that burnt umber, and I have some blue here. I'm just going to use that, and we'll make a nice dark, almost black color. And we'll put the darker color in here. This is where you can be a little bit more precise if you want, or not. Again, you could use a pen if you wanted to make it a little bit more believable that it's dark there. I'm just going to put a few marks here and there, maybe just to represent the dark areas, like that. Nothing crazy. Very quick. Okay, let's just throw on, I'm going to take my smaller brush, and I'm just going to put on a base coat of a lighter almost alizarin crimson, I guess. Nice dark. Red. Add a little bit of water to my brush. And I'm just going to add this color. Spiky, remember. Remember you have the yellow centers, so don't put anything on there. Now you can either just leave it with just one color and emphasize your shadows with pen, which I might do. So I know that this will dry lighter. And I have the little rough edges, so that makes it look spiky. So you're going to get that feeling by that. A lot of times it's just you have to kind of think of how would you represent spiky leaves or spiky petals. And a lot of times it's about the contour of it that you have to think about. Like a contour drawing where you get the form by the outside drawing of whatever object you're trying to draw. This one has a little less, more pink on the very edge. Like that. Okay. That looks good. So let's give that a dry. Alright, so let's put the centers in. The centers are kind of a greenish gold. So we can add probably Windsor yellow. I'm just going to put it here. It's kind of a greenish gold already, but you can always add a little bit of that green to it. And I'm just going to put some centers in here. Like that. Now, while those are drying, we could do a little bit more on our leaves here. Now we can go in and emphasize things, so folds or usually the stems are a little bit lighter in these, so what you can do is add a little bit to the leaf. So don't do the whole leaf in the same green, but you do want to do a little bit of it. So if it has a fold in it, maybe there's a little bit more of a shadow coming down. Folds would give more shadow. So the underside here of this leaf would have more shadow. Like that. And then just a little bit just on the edge here. A little bit darker underneath some of them where they're overlapping each other. You'd see shadows. Some of them have a real bright green stem. This one here. A little bit darker along the edge. Just play. That's all you can do. The more you do of this type of watercolor, the easier it'll get. But you have to try it in order to get to that point. This one, you see the underside. That. Tip might be a little bit. Just keep trying things. Some of these lines for the flower stems, could put a little bit on the underside, maybe they would be a little darker. The more you do, the better. The more you find your own techniques too in how to do stuff. Doesn't take a whole lot of, and it's fun. A whole lot of practice, really. As long as you let yourself give yourself permission to play. I find that's the biggest thing that people have a hard time doing, experimenting in their journals, because maybe the journal's expensive and they don't want to wreck it, or there's so many variables that stop people. I keep playing and adding more and more color, maybe darker and darker. The more layers you get, the more dimension. Now I'm going to be using a lot of pen on here too, so you got to remember that. So you don't necessarily have to go too deep with the colors if you're going to be using pen. little bit on the buds. And they're fairly dark. Like that. Okay. And now let's put a little more on the let's see, a little bit more on the dirt. Maybe outline, or not outline, but show a little bit more shadows, spots. Maybe it's very dark. Right in here. There'd be different things like, depending on what type of soil it is, there might be perlite in there, so you'd see some lighter areas. You put that in if you want. That. It's a little bit more lumpy looking. Be a little bit of a shadow underneath. Like that. There's actually some shadow on the, because it's a plastic pot, you're seeing kind of a shine, but we could put that on with some Posca or gouache if you have it. And then right inside there is fairly dark too, of this rim, I guess. You do see that. And right here. But we can also use your pen for that. All right, so let's give that a good dry, and then we'll get our pen out. All right, so I like to use usually archival of some sort. Here's a number 3. I like a fairly small nib also when I'm doing flowers. Sometimes I use a big one, but most of the time a 3 or a 2. Let's see, this is a 3. Yep. So when we're doing flowers, I don't necessarily do all of the stems and stuff. And I kind of like it sketchy. Now there's many ways of representing shapes and textures also when you're using a pen. I don't always put in everything. Usually it's the undersides of stems or leaves where the shadows would be, or if it's a really textured looking leaf or stem, then it would get more work done on it. But these are fairly smooth looking, so I'm gonna kind of stay fairly smooth with my sketch, not so rough looking, to keep that look. Inside here though, where it would be shadowed, I might put a few more lines than I will on the leaves themselves, because the leaves I'll want to keep fairly tidy looking. So the inside here would have more shadows. So I'm going to put a little bit more sketchy lines in there. More on the bottom parts of the stems. This leaf here kind of has it overlapping. So I want to show that like that. These leaves, they're a very odd shape. They have kind of this center rib that comes down into the leaf. So you're not going to outline everything, but just where I feel the shape needs to be more defined looking. Because when you're getting into the center here, there's a lot of busyness, so some of it you want to show, okay, that's a leaf, yeah. Or it just looks like a one big ball of nothing. So if you kind of show a little bit of what's what, it looks a little better. And you can color in some areas that are really, maybe they're really deep inside there, so it'd be really dark. So you can put that in as fairly dark. It'll help with trying to distinguish where things are. And you can always go back in with paint too. Because I'm using an archival pen, means I can always go back in with paint, because it's waterproof. Little sketchy lines. Darker in here maybe, underneath this leaf. when you're getting into something complex like this, it's not surprising to go back and add either some more color as a leaf or darken areas for maybe you think it's not making sense. So you want to add maybe a little bit more green to show where those leaves are. Let's see why I'm not worried about having the paint go outside the lines. You don't have to. Do this one. Like that. A little bit more in there. Who knows what's all in here? Just have fun with it. You can make darken areas. That. Gonna put the pot edge in. That. I can see the top thickness of this pot, so let's put that in. And this can be darker because it's shadowed a whole lot more. I'm not worried about going out of the lines. I like this sketchiness of it. I'm going to put some lines down here just to represent maybe some shadowed reflections. Okay. Let's see, this one, like that. This one needs a, I think that goes like that. Yeah, looks good enough. Okay, so let's do something on these flowers. So like I said, they're spiky, so this one here, you're seeing the spikiness. And it's more shorter lines. They're not, you're not seeing necessarily the whole shape. It's the ends you're seeing. So you have to kind of look at that when you're drawing stuff like this. Sometimes you have to draw the negative of it. So on this side you're able to see a little bit more of those shapes of the petal. But I'll just draw a few in, so they're very, very tiny and overlapping. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. So some of them that I see right on top, you're seeing the full shape, and then other ones are kind of overlapped. Same with these. So I'm seeing a little bit of layers sitting on top of each other, but I'm viewing it more as far as the perspective. It's on top of each other, so I'm seeing more of the ends, not necessarily the whole thing. And then as I come down around here, I'm seeing more of the whole shape. And that's when you can put some lines in, make some petal shapes, some on the bottom, on the top, just half ones because you're not seeing the whole thing and they're overlapping each other. Might have a little bit of shadows in there. So right in the center would be darker because there's so many. That. And then the center, I'm just going to put some dots just around the bottom edge, more concentrated around the edge of it. That. And this one too. Just make some little bit more of this, squiggles, a little bit more shorter strokes just along the edge there where it would be darker. And then just a few little dots. I'll just put a few in there. This one here. This one's a little easier because you're seeing the back side of it. So you do actually see the shapes of those petals. They're just kind of long. They overlap each other. That. This one here. There's actually, you can see quite a few of the long shapes in here. Then it gets a little shorter. As you go around. Then you start seeing those little ends of the petals. It is quite dark in there. Some sticking out. This one is one that's fading. It's dying. It's done its thing. And then just a few specks in the center. This one, it's kind of, you're seeing the shape because it's not all the way open, and they're a little bit shorter. And then in here, you're also seeing those shapes, but it's got some white in it, like that. So there's the beginning. So to add a little bit of detail, if you feel that you don't want to put anything else on wet-wise, you can take a marker and you could add some highlights. I like to put a little bit of white in some of the areas, just to highlight some. So wherever base of the flower, usually you see a little bit of white in there. Where the petals are, it's almost like a shine. Same with here on the underside. Sometimes you see a little bit of white. This one here, because it's fading, it's dying, you don't see necessarily too much white on that, but you do on this one. More on the inside than the outside though. Like that. And any shines, so you could just put a few shines. Now this isn't going to be probably strong enough. This is just a it's just soaking in. You could use a colored pencil too to do this. Let's see my colored pencil here. Where'd it go? There's one. Okay, so now a little bit on the top part, not much. Just like that, just to brighten it. Maybe along the stem, along the top part, might have a little bit of a shine in it. You don't have to do this. If you like it as is, that's great. I like to experiment, as you well know. There, I think I can put, I don't know if this is going to be dark enough. I'd like a bit of a shine on there. The only other thing I do want is a little bit of a shadow. So just take some muddy color that you have and just throw on a little bit of shadow. And that's it. So I hope you'll give yours a try. Even, you know, if you're buying some plants for your garden, try drawing them before you plant them. They're a lot of fun. All right, I'll let you guys go, and hope you have a fantastic week, and we'll see you on Thursday. Bye for now.